Anywho, let's get on to the next segment here. Chase, I know you want to talk about something.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the Chase segment here, if you will.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now in session with Dr. Chase. It's time to bend over and get some truth.
TNA is like the Arena Football League. Now it's down to 8 teams by Dean of Extreme in the comment threads for the chat. Ow.
That's fun. So the topic I wanted to talk about was I read an interesting piece. Someone wrote that, people keep talking that Vince McMahon is out of touch. But then he wrote back and said, I think the wrestling fans are really the ones out of touch. And I found that interesting. And the more that he wrote this, I actually said to myself, you know what? I believe it. I think wrestling fans are currently out of touch with the product and what it should be and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying all wrestling fans. I feel like there are people who understand, how you can make a good product with the wrestlers that you currently have and stuff like that. But I think a lot of wrestling fans, and the majority, are out of touch of how they believe wrestling should be. And I really think that people feel like, especially now as the generations have gone on, that people feel like wrestling needs to be like Ring of Honor was in 2004 to 2010. When honestly, I don't think wrestling should even be like that. I honestly feel like fans, because if you look at the age range and stuff like that, if you pretty much watch wrestling in the Attitude Era as an adult, I highly doubt you're still watching now. If you are, it's just pretty much out of habit. But I'm pretty sure 90% of those fans no longer watch wrestling that are watching Attitude Era as an adult. I'm pretty sure after you watch the Ruthless Aggression Era as an adult, you're done watching. So who's now watching? It's people like me and Steven and stuff like that who are growing up watching wrestling when the Attitude Era was kind of ending. And then later on, we watched the Ruthless Aggression Era. And through that, we found other forms of wrestling like Ring of Honor, TNA, so on and so forth. And these are the fans that we have today now. In wrestling are a lot of younger fans who are now in their adult stage that remember the younger days of wrestling, watching Ring of Honor, watching all these different forms of wrestling, and thinking, hey, this is what wrestling should be. But of course, as you get older, you kind of realize, and you go diving into the past, you tend to appreciate more the past product a little bit more than the current product. But the thing is, I feel like wrestling fans feel like wrestling should be some in-ring extravagant stuff that we should admire. But I honestly think that's boring. And I honestly think wrestling fans are trying to make wrestling into MMA. And it's funny because a lot of wrestling fans aren't really into MMA. They think MMA is boring and stupid. It's too realistic. But when it comes to wrestling, why would you want to make it some boring, realistic, it's a sport that we should appreciate because these guys can do all these amazing moves? I really feel like wrestling fans are really the ones out of touch here and that they don't know or understand what they really want. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, if you were asked to book Monday Night Raw, how would you be able to do it? Would you be able to listen to the network and the sponsors telling you who they want at top? Would you be able to listen to the stockholders? Would you be able to listen to this, to that, to that? There's a lot of things wrestling fans don't think of. They honestly think of hey, why don't you just push this guy? You can do it. Well, yeah, you can do it. But the thing is, does USA Network want that guy? Do the sponsors want that guy? Do the stockholders want that guy? I think wrestling fans don't think like that. They just say no, just push him. It's going to work. Trust me, it's going to help business. How do you know it's going to help business? Last time we listened to you guys, it's funny enough, Randy Orton jokingly by Triple H was being told, he's best for business. And Randy Orton, when he's champ, he's great. And all the IWC was scoffing on that. Yet Forbes.com released an article that said, yeah, Randy Orton is actually best for business. Because when Randy Orton was on top, compared to CM Punk, John Cena, and Daniel Bryan at that time, Randy Orton was making the most money than all of them. He was drawing more money for the WWE. He had more ratings than the WWE than CM Punk did. CM Punk, even with the Summer of Punk boost that he had, sure, ratings were a little bit higher than Orton's, but when it came to drawing money, Randy Orton was still outmaking him and stuff like that. So it's funny enough that, the guys that we think are the best, maybe they aren't the best. Maybe they aren't. That's why I'm thinking wrestling fans could be out of touch because, hey, who has billions of dollars and who doesn't? Vince McMahon has billions of dollars. We don't. Do you think we could make those billions of dollars? Do you think we can make millions off the ideas that we have? I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Now, like I said, not all wrestling fans are out of touch. Some of them understand it. Like for me, example, all these smaller wrestlers, I'm tired of these idiots being underdogs. Treat them like they're bigger. It's okay. WWE is no longer the land of the giants. You can make these guys feel bigger. I'm tired of these underdogs. That's one thing that needs to go and stuff like that. That's the one thing I would do. But just because I make these wrestlers bigger doesn't mean I'm going to be like, all right, Sami Zayn, you're now my world champion. No, I would make Sami Zayn kind of like Crash Holly, a good gimmick that you can remember for years to come. Everyone remembers Crash Holly, but was Crash Holly like this 18-time world champion? No.
Crash Holly, rest
He was like
in
a
peace.
world champion. He was 400 pounds. I believe that shit. Val Venus. Fuck. Dude was only an Intercontinental champion. But we still remember him. We still remember the gimmick. We still remember the theme song. I'm just saying that's what WWE should be going for more than less left. Like, I really don't care who WWE pushes and stuff because I feel like they have a better track record than anyone else when it comes to fucking up and fixing their own mistakes. I mean, they've been around for 60 years for a fucking reason, people. So they know what they're doing. But so I don't really care who they push or anything like that. I just wish they would feature these guys better than what they do, you know? So I just want to throw that out there to wrestling fans and to anyone listening. It's just like, just think about it and say to yourself, maybe I am the one that's out of touch. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with everything that WWE's doing. No, some of the stuff they do is stupid. But what I'm saying is the way that you believe wrestling should be, maybe wrestling shouldn't be that. Because I guarantee you, if wrestling's the way you think it's going to be, it's not going to turn out well. Seth Rollins' title reign, even the diehard of Seth Rollins fans, how many of them said it sucked? I did.
Yeah.
I thought it sucked. And people agreed. They stopped watching. Yeah, Reigns' title reign, it just started.
Yeah.
Last I checked, I don't see people turning out of Roman Reigns. People are still watching.
Or the CM
People
Punk,
still care. There's still some interest.
or the CM Punk run.
So maybe,
Towards the end.
yeah. Oh yeah, people weren't watching. They were tired of that shit. So maybe wrestling isn't what you think it is, and maybe the fans are the ones that are out of touch. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the fans are kind of out of touch, like because they're like the people who found Ring of Honor when it was hot, watched the Ruthless Aggression era where like Benoit and Guerrero were on top, TNA was getting up, and so wrestling fans like growing up now believe this is what wrestling should be because that's what we watched when we were younger and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Connor wishes wrestling was like WCW with like Ric Flair and Magnum TA and stuff like that. So
I mean, you make an excellent point. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We don't look at it from a business perspective. We look at it as what do we want, and that's kind of a double-edged sword. You're absolutely right. I think WWE tries to cater to, and let me rephrase that. I think wrestling in general tries to cater to what their fans want, but there are so many other major factors involved with their decisions, some that we probably don't even either know exist or know that we can't even like wrap our heads around. Like, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Maybe to give an example, maybe the reason they had Zack Ryder drop the championship to The Miz is because The Miz is starring in a new WWE Studios film, and they want to promote him as the Intercontinental Champion so they can get enough heat out of him to boost it over Cesaro because Cesaro has a new T-shirt and action figure coming out in the same month.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like but at the same time, we're like, no, we want Ryder. But is WWE gonna, from a business perspective, successfully kind of derail all those plans just because we want and I want Zack Ryder to be champion? Don't misunderstand me. I do want Zack Ryder to be champion, but I think to Chase's point, and deserves a lot of credit for that point, that there are so many other factors involved. This coming from someone who has run a wrestling organization in the past. I ran one for about a year. And there were things that I had to do that I had to switch around because business-wise, it made the most sense. And so I think that to an extent we are out of touch because there are so many factors involved that we don't understand that I think that basically we just don't know or don't think about as far as continuing it as a business because that's what it is, folks. At the end of the day, WWE is a business, and as crappy and cliche as the phrase is, they have to do what's best for business because if they don't, they won't be around.
Pro wrestling as a whole is a business. That's how I look at it. It's been that way since the early days. The days of Luthez and Gorgeous George, to the days of Bruno Sammartino and the days of Hogan, Flair, what have you. It's always been a business, always will be a business, even when we're not around. I agree again with Chase. I agree with here, and I guess the same thing could be said, I guess, even with Roman, right, to an extent.
What do you mean to Roman?
No, the whole out of touch thing, what have you, this and that, and fans think.
I think those are just. I think those are growing pains. I think it's one of those things where we got what we wanted way too soon, way too fast, and we didn't. And we don't appreciate what we have in front of us. I just make fun of. I just do the jokes honestly at Roman because I'm still blown away at the reaction he got at WrestleMania.
To me, this is not about Roman Reigns, really. To be honest, this is about wrestling fans. I just feel like they are literally out of touch and stuff like that, and I feel like sometimes they're unfair. Don't get me wrong, yeah, they're unfair to Roman Reigns and Rybacks of the world, guys who I specifically like and stuff like that. But for people to say, Chase, you only like bigger guys, it's like, okay, then how come I talk about AJ Styles and Neville with such high regard, and I talk about how I like those guys? I like bigger guys. I like fucking AJ Styles and Neville. Don't get me wrong, I love Neville. If Neville won the championship, I have no problem with it. But I'm not one of these guys that are going to be like, Neville needs to win the title right now. It's like, why? If I can just say that Neville left an impact with his Red Arrow, and WWE was able to do that with him, great. That's good enough for me. I don't need to say Neville had to be one of those guys that should have won the world title. I'm always tired of hearing that with certain wrestlers. It's like, he should have won the world title. It's like, why does every wrestler that leaves WWE or, does something different outside of WWE, that's always like, they should have won the world title? It's like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Come on. It's ridiculous.
Carlito should have been the world champion or...
Yeah, it's like stupid stuff like that. It's like, it's like
give the belt to Hornswoggle. He'll make millions.
No, but it's like, I can understand why fans don't like Roman Reigns. I just don't understand the mounting hatred they have for him. I just don't understand his hatred because I feel like he's what every fan should be asking for. And really, to be honest, if you guys hate Roman Reigns, then it's just like, get ready because down at the Performance Center, there's a bunch of Roman Reigns down there. It's not what you guys think. It's down at the Performance Center. They have a bunch of ex-NFL, ex-NBA players down there. There's a college football player who is in the Performance Center right now. There's a bunch of guys like Roman Reigns down there, and that's going to be the future of NXT. Really, you don't to me, the only reason why NXT is popular is because of the indie guys. If there was no indie guys and was what Triple H really wanted to do, oh man, dude, NXT would be considered shit by fans.